Chapter 24. Rhaim. I talked to her about the stars, telling her all the same stories my old master had told me. How Olachi the Cruel chased Brayan the Flame across the sky in the winter for heat, but how they both hid from the sun in the summer. How there were times when it looked like the moon was being eaten, but it wasn't. And how only those with the best eyesight could make out all the pearls embroidered on the serpent's purse. She listened, and tilted her head to follow my arm as I pointed, but soon I watched her rub her eyes. I stood and opened up a basket to draw out a towel to hand her and caught her pouting. "But I want to learn more," she protested. "There will be more stars in your future, little moth. I promise," I said, looking away. I felt her take the towel from my hand and heard her step up from the water. "You can turn around," she told me shortly. And when I did so, she'd tucked the towel around herself. Her wet hair was clinging against her body, and she seemed so small and vulnerable in that moment it made me ache. I picked up the candle I'd set out for us, and watched its flame glint off my chain around her neck. "I would see your back, moth." She frowned and her head bowed. "I would rather you not, sir." I knew I could order her to show me, and she would, but something in her now seemed fragile. "All right," I said, and led the way to the physical door down into my castle set into a parapet. She paused and looked back once we'd reached it. "May I come back here, sir?" No. I hadn't considered that she might be more interested in using my tub than hers, but I should have guessed as much, seeing as she longed for the outdoors. But I needed free access to it at all times in case I came home injured. I watched her shiver in the dark. "Because you're worried other mages will steal me?" "No. Because it is my tub. You have your own." I gestured again for her to use the door I had opened for her, but she didn't. "Why didn't you bring me to heal here after you spanked me, sir?" I made a low noise of irritation, wanting her to hurry up for her sake. "Because I didn't want you taking your injuries for granted, little moth. Nor did I want you to think that I did either." She gave me a wild look then, stricken, like somehow I had lost the last several weeks of progress with her, and she was trapped anew. "Lisane, what is wrong?" I asked, crowding her inside, whether she liked it or not. She danced away from me, running halfway down the stairs before turning back, briefly panting. But she didn't say anything else. She just clutched her towel and then ran from me again. I spent the rest of that night pacing by the fire in my bedroom. Had I hurt her? Yes. Had I been cruel? Most certainly. The many stripes on her back had attested to that. But this time the cruelty had been her idea, not mine, although I didn't fight against it. No, I had agreed to push her because she needed to be pushed. I'd felt the stirrings of magic in her again when I'd been whipping her. But then, after she'd fainted, things had fallen silent. And when she'd woken, we were back to what felt like the normal flow of fate between us. Me wanting her, and her hating me to some degree. I could teach her everything inside my castle's library and laboratory, give her access to almost everything inside my mind, but the only thing she had want of was the one thing I couldn't give her, her own magic. I was starting to be worried about her for her sake. I would be disappointed, of course, if I couldn't raise her up in power. But she would be the one to actually have to live that way. With a drive such as hers, could she manage it? Maybe this was why no one taught women magic. The discovery that they couldn't perform it was too disappointing for them to handle. And when I did go to bed, I found one of Finks's dresses spooled upon it from when I had cut her down. The iridescent fabric was in shreds now. There was no point in giving it back to her. I held it up, watching the embers of the firelight behind it, feeling its silk as smooth as her skin. I brought the fabric up to my face without thinking, breathing it in as an animal might, not just with my nose but with my mouth slightly open, like I could not only inhale her, but taste her too. My beast rushed to the surface, begging to come out, pricking me from the inside with his claws, urging up his teeth as he tried to take over. She was so close. Just a few flights of stairs away, which I knew might as well have been a continent. But my beast was not convinced. All he wanted was to take control of me, so that I would then not have any. I twisted my head and forced my beast down, letting the sheer silk trace against the skin of my cheek, wishing that it were her hand instead.